Mr. John Graham, chief reporter of the Todmorden News and Advertiser, makes his first call of the day at the Todmorden police station. The closest cooperation exists between the police and reporting staffs. Although reporters are not allowed to examine the records of the police force, Inspector Woodall gives the best cooperation to Mr. Graham for the week's news that is likely to follow. Mr. Sam Tonkis, editor of the News and Advertiser, carries out the many duties which constitute his sole responsibility for each issue of the paper. The editorial staff discuss the week's activities from the diary of coming events. The magistrate, and here we see the clerk of the court reading the charge against the accused. A motoring offence has been committed, and the inspector of the police calls on the policeman to give his evidence. The magistrates confer. And the chairman of the bench announces a fine of £3. This is duly entered in the records of the court. Mr. Graham and the police inspector exchange pleasantries over the proverbial cigarette. Mr. Harvey, Vicar of Crossstone, completes some correspondence and decides to pay a personal visit to the news office. Mr. Harvey leaves Crossstone Vicarage, which in its long history had many pleasant associations with the Bronte sisters. Miss Sheila Howell, junior reporter, prepares copy from her shorthand notes ready for the compositors. There is a lighter side to the work of the newspaper reporter, and he enters spiritedly into the occasion. A very pleasant ending to a convivial evening. But even after the best of evenings out, there is a price to be paid the following morning. His Worship the Mayor, Councillor John Graham JP, is assisted to robe by the Mayor's attendant. In the robing room, Mr. Moyes, Town Clerk. The beautiful chain of office, with its exquisite workmanship, of which all Todmordians are justly proud. The mayoral procession wends its dignified way to the aldermanic benches. A message is delivered to the mayor from the National Boys' Clubs, and he reads it to the members of the council. In the well of the council chamber are seated the 18 members of the council representing the 6 wards of the borough. Councillor Mrs. Graham makes her points, while her husband, the mayor, listens carefully. The councillors listened to the debate with rapt attention. On each side of the mayor are seated the 6 aldermen. Seated below the mayor are the permanent officials, always ready to give technical rulings and advice. The reporters are still busy. The alderman looks pensive yet critical, and the councillors still pay the strictest attention to the points made by another councillor. The town clerk replies to a legal query. And so ends another council meeting. The councillor still making his point. Centrevale Park provides the arena for many sporting activities and more copy for the weekly paper. As the players gather round the goal mouth for a free kick, the tower of the Todmorden parish church overlooks the ground. Mr. and Mrs. George Waddington receive a bouquet on the occasion of their golden wedding. Mr. Waddington, proprietor and managing director of the Todmorden News and Advertiser, has spent over 50 years of active interest in the trade. The approaching motorcyclist and the fast-moving car provide the means for one of the less pleasant of a reporter's job. Quickly on the scene comes the ambulance with its devoted and conscientious personnel ready to render such valuable and skilled assistance. Within minutes, a police car is speeding to the scene of the accident. Sergeant Fountain and P.C. Harwood competently carry out a thorough check, and by that mysterious grapevine, a reporter on the scene. Again, the closest cooperation between police and editorial staff. Miss Howell meets P.C. McCullum. And P.C. Leach. The younger generation of Todmorden are given practical lessons in road safety under the supervision of P.C. McCullum, who gives this supervision in his spare time. P.C. Leach examines the pupils in a road proficiency test. P.C. Leach announces the result of his examination. In the dark room, Mr. Graham prepares prints for block making. Hand composition is an essential part of the makeup of a newspaper. News headings, adverts are set by hand from cases of type. Metal is remelted, ready for making into ingots for supplying to the linotype machines. The linotype operator, seated at the machine, taps the keys similar to a keyboard. As each key is pressed, a matrix descends from the magazine above the machine and assembles in line in front of the operator. The line is then transferred to the left-hand side of the operator, descends, and molten metal is forced against the face of the matrices, casting a line of type which is ejected onto the galley. The matrices are then carried upwards by an elevator arm to the top of the linotype machine and distributed back into the magazine, ready for next time the key is pressed. The galleys of type are hand-rolled with ink rollers, paper laid on, and a proof taken. The proof is then passed to the reading department. In the reading department, the copy is read by a copy holder, and the reader follows the proof, marking errors and omissions on the proof, which will then go back for correction before being passed for use. Mr. Hodgins, a representative of the bus committee, discusses an advert with Mr. Peter Waddington, General Manager. Columns of news matter, blocks, and adverts are made up into pages for the issue. After make-up into length columns, they are fastened into a frame, securely clamped together, which is then ready for transfer to the machine department. The completed page is lifted, placed in the hoist, and goes downstairs to the machine department. The machine minders remove the page and carry it to the printing machine. This is a Cosa reel-fed printing machine which is capable of printing some 5,000 copies per hour. The pages are placed in line on the deck and securely clamped in position. Final adjustments are made to the pages. These are planed down so that nothing extends above the height of the printing surface. The deck is turned in, the machine is set in motion and a proof is taken for final checking. Mr. Waddington takes a careful look at the issue. while the editor, Mr. Tonkis, waits for his copy of the paper. A careful checking of each column in the issue. Finally, the issue is approved. The signal is given, the machine set in motion, and yet another issue is on its way. The printed reel of paper comes down a triangular piece at the end of the machine, passes through a revolving drum, which causes the papers to be folded, and as each pile of papers comes forward, each 25th paper receives a little twitch, turning it to the right, thus automatically counting the papers. Girls prepare papers for delivery all over the world. Ex-Todmordians finding it as a good link with home. The packing department prepare the papers for delivery to individual newsagents. And so yet another edition is put to bed. The papers arrive at the newsagents, who is keenly awaiting delivery, so as to put them in order for the morning round. But the round of the editorial staff has already begun on next week's issue, and so the life of the weekly newspaper goes on, to serve you, the public.